Hello and welcome to the Alpha Strike 350 Tabletop Simulator tutorial. In this video I am going to talk about how to import mechs into the game. So the first thing about importing is you should be having an idea of your list already built from the master unit list. This isn't really intended to be a list building, just a mech importing. So if you go up here, there's a tool that I call the mech bay. You'll notice there's a there's a 3D model of a mech here, and then there's a card. And over here are a bunch of buttons. Whatever you're trying to import, you just find the overhead button, and then it gives you a bunch of the middle names. Let's say we want a Marauder 2. Next, you'll select the skill rating. It defaults to 4, so if you aren't going to change it, you can just leave it. Next is the mech's miniature. If I have multiple miniatures, they'll all be listed. Some mechs I only have one, but when you click the button, it will load in, like literally load in as you saw loading, the model that you're going to use. Now, if it won't load in, that means that it just won't load in, so you're going to have to click something else. Then you select the variant, and these are all the variants that I'm aware of in the master unit list. When you click one, it should load in the card as well, and then you could just click this green, the button should turn green, and you just click it and spawn. Now, since this is all created by me, there are possibly mistakes. So at this point, what you should do is you should make sure that this card actually is in fact the right card. The PV it says here is associated with what's on the card. Like if you click 5, it should change the PV value. You want to make sure that that's correct, and you want to make sure that the armor and structure on the hit point bar are correct. There's some other things that it infuses on here. There's some code put on that's for other tools in this mod specifically. There could be mistakes in what I've made, so if you find any mistakes, please let me know. And if you want to grab something different, you just click go back, and it resets this list, and you can just create your model from here. Now I've got two other tools. Again, I said you're supposed to have your list ahead of time, but this right here is a squad counter for models that you import in using the mech bay. If you're just going to build a list on the fly, the squad counter here is to help. If you drop a mech on, it will tell you what the sum of all the PV is. So let's say I'm going to go grab, I don't know, a battle armor of some kind. I just select this proxy model that I've got in. We'll just grab this one, and when you throw this on there, oops, well that's, it'll update it. Now, I am still in the process of developing this tool, so when you pull models off, it does not self-update, which is why it has this button to click to refresh. So in this case, you can use it to build your list. Now, another tool I have is, obviously the game has thousands of units. They're not all in the mech bay. So if you want to use something that's not in the mech bay, I would ask first that you let me know, and I can add it to the mech bay as best I can. If you have a model that you want used, please let me know that too. But all I really need to know is just the name of the model of the unit. So for example, if you want to use the Kodiak and the Kodiak wasn't in, you would only have to tell me Kodiak. I would set it up for all variants. But in the meantime, let's say you want to use a mech that isn't there, you'll need a model. So I've added a button where if you can just spawn a mech model instead of a variant, and it'll spawn an empty model for you. So this model can be, saved and used in other BattleTech mods or other mods in general, or it has no code on it, so you can use the third tool for importing that are called infusers. So there's some specific scripting tools depending on if it's a mech, if it's infantry, or if it's a vehicle. And so all of that is automatic over here, but in here you're going to have to do it manually if you want the scripting tools to be associated with the mech model. So to set up the hit point bar, we need to know the armor and structure. So you'll just add that up here. Hypothetically, let's say it's a 6/6. One of the tools is it auto-calculates your TMM for you when you drop a die on it. So let's just put in a TMM. If it has jump, that affects this dice calculation. So you have to select if it has jump strong, jump weak, whichever. You just don't select any of them if it doesn't. And then if you want the card associated with the model, we need to put in the card URL. So if you go to the master unit list and actually load up the card that you're going to use, the URL starts with this, and then it has a tail end that looks like what you see down here, where it's a couple of numbers, a question mark, scale equals 4. If your skill is 4, you don't actually need the question mark scale equals 4. You can just type in the number. Otherwise, you just put that last bit of the URL in. So for example, if we had, let's say it was 1978, we can just click 1978. The last step to put it on the model is to just drop the model right on the spot. So if we drop this on, it'll load up the thing and then update it, and you can see that it now has 6 armor, 6 structure, and then the rest of this will be associated. Now, note that since this tool doesn't have PV, it will not work with the squad counter because we haven't loaded PV onto this, which, the assumption is that if you are using a model that's not in here, you already know what your list is and you don't need the squad counter. And so yeah, if you want something added to the mech bay, just feel free to reach out to me. And I can't think of anything else, so I will conclude this video.